I never believed that silence could watch you. I mean real silence, not the quiet you get late at night in the city, but the kind that feels thick, like the air itself is holding its breath. This happened when I was completely alone, no friends, no neighbors, no phone signal, just me and a stretch of forest that went on longer than it should have. I had gone there to get away. I was tired of noise, tired of people, tired of hearing the same voices asking the same questions every day. I wanted a plow. See, where nothing could reach me, the cabin wasn't on any map. I found it through a random post buried deep online. No photos, just a few sentences saying it was cheap and far from everything. That should have been the first warning. The drive there took hours. At some point the road turned into gravel, then dirt, then something that barely deserved to be called a road. Trees leaned in close, like they were trying to listen. When I finally arrived, it was already getting dark. The cabin looked older than the forest around it. Wood warped by time, windows cloudy like blind eyes. No lights, no sound, not even insects. That silence hit me the moment I stepped out of the car. It was unnatural, like someone had turned the volume of the world all the way down. Inside the cabin, things were simple. One room, a bed, a small table, a fireplace, no electricity, no internet. Exactly what I thought I wanted. The first night was calm, too calm. I slept heavier than I had in months. The second night is when I noticed it. I woke up because the silence felt different, heavier, pressing against my ears. I remember lying there holding my breath, listening. That's when I realized something was wrong. Silence isn't supposed to feel focused, but this one did, like it was aimed directly at me. I sat up slowly. The cabin was dark, but I could still make out the shapes of the room. Nothing had changed, and yet everything felt off. Then I heard it, not a sound exactly, more like the absence of one, a gap where something should have been. It felt like the moment before someone speaks, that split second when you know a voice is coming. I waited, my heart pounding so loud I was sure it would break the silence. Nothing happened. Eventually, I convinced myself it was just my imagination. Too much quiet can mess with your head. That's what I told myself. The next day, I went for a walk. The forest was dense. Trees packed together so tightly that sunlight barely touched the ground. No birds, no wind, just footsteps and breathing. That's when I noticed something strange. The forest didn't echo, no matter how loudly I snapped a branch or kicked a rock. The sound just died immediately, like the trees were absorbing it. When I stopped walking, the silence rushed back instantly, like it had been, waiting. That night I stayed awake longer. I kept the fire going. The crackling flames were comforting. Proof that sound still existed, but even the fire sounded muted, like it was burning under water. Sometime after midnight, the fire died down and the silence returned. That's when I heard breathing, slow, careful. Right outside the cabin, I froze. It wasn't animal breathing. It was too controlled, too deliberate. I didn't move, didn't reach for anything, didn't even blink. The breathing stopped. Then came something worse. A pause, the kind of pause you get when something knows you're listening. I wanted to tell myself it was nothing, but deep down I knew. Whatever was outside wasn't trying to scare me. It was listening. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Time felt stretched thin. Finally, the breathing faded away. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning I found footprints. They weren't human, and they weren't animal either, too long, too narrow, pressed deep into the dirt. like whatever made them was heavier than it should have been. They circled the cabin, not randomly, carefully, like someone studying a place that should have been when I left. But fear has a way of slowing your thoughts, of convincing you that staying still is safer than running. That night I heard it again. This time it was closer, right outside the wall. I could hear the wood creak slightly, as if something was leaning against it. Then came the whisper, not words, just the shape of a voice, like someone trying to remember how talking works. I covered my ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't traveling through the air. It felt like it was coming from inside my head. Then the whisper stopped, and the silence rushed back in. Then I heard my own breathing, except I wasn't breathing. It took me a second to understand what I was hearing. Something was copying me, matching the rhythm, the pauses, the depth of each breath. I stopped breathing completely. So did it. That's when I knew whatever was out there didn't just listen. It learned. I left at sunrise. I didn't pack, didn't clean. I just ran to the car and drove. The forest felt tighter, closer, like it was closing behind me. The silence followed me all the way to the road. When I finally reached civilization, the noise hit me like a wave, cars, voices, wind. I thought I was safe. I was wrong. That night, back in my apartment, I woke up to silence. Not normal quiet, that same heavy silence. No traffic, no distant sounds, nothing. Then I heard breathing right beside my bed, matching mine. Perfect. I don't go into quiet places anymore. I sleep with noise, music, TV, anything. Because I learned something out there. Silence isn't empty. And sometimes, when it gets quiet enough, something is listening. Apartment. I woke up to silence. Not normal quiet. That same heavy silence, no traffic, no distant sounds, nothing. Then I heard breathing right beside my bed, matching mine. Perfect. I don't go into quiet places anymore. I